Welcome to another episode of the Indulge Podcast, and it's going to be as colorful as the Pride Month. I'm your host Priyambada, and today we have a truly remarkable guest who defies gender norms. We are talking about Patruni Chidananda Sastry, a drag artist from Hyderabad. He's a proud queer, married to a cisgender partner, and now is a loving father to a 1 month old baby. Patroni's story is one that intertwines love, identity, and power of art in the most extraordinary ways. The pansexual artist fearlessly uses art forms like Bharatnatyam, drag, and Bhutto to express himself and raise awareness for important causes. Welcome, Patruni. Thank you so much for joining us. Father's Day just went by, so I'll begin by asking, how are you feeling like a father now?
It's crazy, to be honest. I never, there's some experiences which you never know how long you want to imagine. You can never predict it. It's very unpredictable. I was like, after the baby is born, I can get it back to home, and all that thing. I can do some lot of content and kind of raise a baby just like any other human being. But that's not that cakewalk. There are a lot of other things which are involved. I think kind of in the center of everything at this point in time.
So, did you always wanted to have a baby? Right.
Yeah. So I always wanted to have children because I kind of, I'm very much curious about children and, the innocence of children, which is kind of right in front of. And, being one of the, child in my own family, I'm the most pampered kid. I was being pampered by more than 20 families at once. So I think with that pampership, you tend to kind of pamper the kids as well, who's around you. Like it might be your, cousin's kid or somebody or, whatever it is. So I've been growing up with a lot of kids around me. And, I thought like, there would be one time, and usually what happens is like whenever you are pampering a kid, right, the parents are very offensive. They find it very kind of, oh, you should not be doing it. I am the one, they would be the one who would be controlling. So I was like, okay, I will also get one day and I would also question you back. That was my basic kind of thing, but I always wanted kids. But not, I didn't plan it. Like even that is something which it's not very, I didn't know how, but I always wanted.
But you always had those parental instincts in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably you're the first non-binary, bisexual person who's having a first biological kid in India. I've never heard it before. Mostly people from queer community, they take up for adoptions. So how is the journey so different? I mean, how was the reaction of your friends, family, to the news, the good news when it came out? Yeah.
So I think definitely I can acknowledge that. So this is something which, if I say that, okay, there were no other queer parents before, I might not be very much, like onto it because I might be the very first openly bisexual, non-binary parent. But there are a lot of closeted bisexual people. There are a lot of closeted, somebody who might be kind of coming up tomorrow, day after tomorrow, kind of opening up, or they might have some other journey. Like every journey is different. So having said that, like to be honest, I don't know anybody. Like that is for sure. Like I didn't know, okay, this is my mom and dad, they are straight people. So they raise their child in a certain way. And when it comes to me, I being, a bisexual person, I've been carrying trauma or whatever it is since childhood for me being queer and then non-binary. So all these things, right? It's different journey. And when I, initially when I said, I was getting married. So at that point itself, it was a huge kind of situation. Like people thought for a decade that I was gay. And then when I even told bisexuality and, when I said like, I'm marrying a, cis person. And for me, the only, reason was like, I think I'm in love with her. And that is something which I don't want to kind of, put some reasonings, permutations and combinations, etc. So that is something which I was thinking of basically
So
as
your parents, friends, family, everybody was very excited when you told them the news.
Yeah, about the children,
Yeah.
about the child.
Yeah,
they were very excited. My mom was very excited because so this was also like the reason of them being excited is this is the very first child in my family. So So,
Okay.
we didn't had any child before. That was one of the major core excitement. Having said that, I was very kind of, it was very scary situation for me. And I still remember, how will we deal with it? Or, like all that kind of thoughts which were kind of coming in. Raji was, on the other hand, kind of very relaxed, that, it's not something, which she would be basically like, she's very calm and relaxed. She didn't bother about any of this. She's in her own mind, kind of carrying the baby and everything. So that is something, she's being into. So I think that was her space, and I was the one who was constantly thinking. Now it's reverse.
So
Now
you
I
were
am the
more
one who's like,
nervous. Raji was more
I'm more
cool and
nervous.
calm.
Well, yeah. Now it's reverse. So once the child is born, I am very kind of relaxed, and she is somebody who's nervous. No, I
Uh,
think both of us are nervous, but in our own spaces.
so any kind of lifestyle changes that you have brought in because of the
Um,
child?
So one thing, definitely, I think one of the, not a lifestyle change, but I started becoming more aware about a lot of things. Especially taking care of finances. So before that, I always had this problem as well. Raising a child is like, okay, you can raise it, but again, to ensure that you're providing them education, you're providing them, resources or whatever it is. And while you are doing it, the first thing which any person would kind of think about is having finances. Now, imagine me who is kind of doing a day job, and then doing something for the community. Sometimes I never kind of saw drag as a medium of earning at any point in time, and it was always for the artistic pleasure. But now, if you're just trying to understand, okay, what am I getting out of it, or what am I kind of, how am I supporting my family, the balance between both of them is something which I need to kind of draw a very rigid line, telling that, okay, this is what I'm doing. I need to ensure that I'm not hurting my family because of art. This is something which is very crucial as an artist for me to kind of balance it. So I'm very more kind of understanding what is the purpose of it. If I'm even taking an event, I'm kind of rechecking about, okay, what's the purpose of it, what will it kind of bring into the community of for me, and analyzing and kind of engaging myself. Having said that, the other thing which I also think is like, I'm kind of divided about all the negativity. Like, I'm kind of, like this COVID vaccine as of now, that, I don't want any kind of a negative thinking. I stopped taking advices from people about, parenthood and everything. It's too much to kind of handle. And I think I had 1 month entirely with 20 to 30 people walking towards me and telling, me and Raj a lot of things. So we are very divided. We just like, okay, I don't want to listen to it anymore.
The mind can't
So
take
that,
more. So, yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's the thing.
any kind of special upbringing that you would want to give your child, something like had someone told you in your childhood would have eased your life. So you
Indeed.
want to, so something that you would like to impart to your child, which you did not get.
So one thing was like, firstly, I was not aware till my 21, till I was 21, that there was something like, a gender identity or a queer identity in the very first place. So hence it was, for 21 years of age, though my parents were very open, they gave me that kind of a space, but I didn't have the audacity to kind of go and tell them that I'm queer person. Only after 21, once I gained the vocabulary and the confidence, once I started, earning, and then kind of, seeing, having a backup as well. So that's the time when when I went ahead and went and spoken to them. So, but this 21 years, whatever the trauma I was carrying, that is something which nobody can kind of take it. If I would have come out in my 18s, because that's the time I realized I was different. I knew that there
What
were
made
boys
you
who were
realize that?
different.
What made you
So it
realize?
was it was very subtle choices. Like, I think I'm always attracted to something which is more more feminine or graceful. We can't even put it as feminine, but it's something which is more expressive in its own nature. Like, I started learning dance. I picked, if there was an option which was given to me in my school, one, you can go to a dance class, and so that was not an option for me, but sure, but I went over there. So there was sports, and then there were dance. So I was the only boy at that point in time who was always choosing dance. Like, even with the class was filled with girls, I was the only boy who was kind of choosing. That is a very distinctive choice which I was making. And then even I was very uncomfortable in kind of sitting next to 5 or 6 boys at once. There were a lot of things tiny tiny things which kind of came in, which I was which kind of kind of popping out. If you see a movie, you don't imagine as a, the hero, the macho person. You imagine yourself as somebody like Ramya Krishna or even Vampish, but still kind of bringing the idea of femininity in its own way. So I think that was very clear, distinctive, I would say, things which I realized. And one thing, after the teens, like after you cross 11 or 12th, you see people kind of trying to go ahead and have conversations about sexuality, and this is what it is, this is what it is. And there was very kind of an open conversation in my school as well, with the administration didn't know, or else they would shut the school. But having said that, it was very kind of like those conversations which were there. I was not very invested, or I was not liking it. There was something different, and I realized that at the early age itself. I think my mom and dad also realized it. Like, even if I ask right now, they will say that you were not that regular child who would play cricket. Whenever we used to get you a bat and a ball, you'll create something out of it. So I have this obsession that in Bengal there's something called as, they will do pandals for Durga Puja and all. They will do this pandals and everything. So I used to play like that. I used to create a dollhouse and then go sit inside
Of
it
the
and play
bats.
of the bats or whatever they're trying to give me. My father bought me a cycle, and I never drove the cycle. I actually used that cycle also to the pandal. So these were the things, and it was very distinctive, way of me or engaging. I always loved to wear dresses of my sister. And those were some of the things which were very very kind of I was trying to look into such situations.
And I think that was also the time when you took up Bharatnatyam by the age of like 7,
yeah
8.
and like whatever was, people when we were saying that you should not be doing this, you're a boy, all that thing were nullified when I was doing Bharatanatyam. So if somebody is saying you should not wear a makeup, because if I'm doing on the garb of Bharatanatyam, right, nobody will kind of come and question me. That is artistic.
So
I think
classical
that gave me
dance was like a mask for you to basically
indeed,
express your individuality.
indeed, it's a safe space. So I
Safe.
felt very safe when I was doing dance, and even people, I think that the mentality of people kind of flipped and changed. Like, once I started Bharatanatyam, nobody will kind of come ahead and tell my mom and dad anything about it. Oh, you are raising your child in a far more better way. All that kind of conversations were happening. But that was one side. And on the other side, again, in school, when I was the only guy who was doing dance with the other
Girls, yeah.
people, it was always this this constant bullying. Like, they used to call me names like, oh, you are also a girl, we should sit with the girls. There was one time where all the boys of my classroom has asked me to sit near the bench of a girls section. There was this divide. One, I had a principal, his name is Rakesh Sharma from Kendriya Vidyalaya. So that person was very irritated with this entire bullying. What happened, he was so irritated that he asked every boy to sit in between girls, like 2 girls 1 boy, 2 girls 1 boy. So he changed that kind of a space. So I think even there, I had support, but all these things I had to deal with, because I didn't know what to call myself or what to self-identify. It was very confusing state. So that thing I will try to nullify. I will try to inform the child as much as they would kind of take it for that particular age or that particular point in time. And I would also ensure to kind of not put my inhibitions or my thought process into that child as well. Like, this is very easy to say but very hard to do, is what I understand for sure. Like, at any point in time, you want your child to be like a shape of you, but I will try my best to kind of take that out, like, let them be for who they are, and let them kind of create their own space, is what that is something which I am trying to understand as well. Now, again, there's a very very debated conversation. Would you raise your child as a as a non-gendered tagline? I'm thinking about it, because again, there are complications for it. Just that if I am calling that the baby as a non-binary person, and if I raise them in the similar way, again, I don't want to make them the direct target of bullying. I'm just seeing it from the very nuance or smaller level of eyes, which usually kind of transcend into school and colleges whenever they're kind of going. So I would leave it up to them. I think though if somebody wants to put the gender label like, my mom, dad, or Raji's mom and dad, I don't have any kind of a problem, but I would see them as somebody who choose their gender at the right point of time. So that is my personal, visibility. And I'm trying to raise them in a similar way. A friend of mine, her name is Ajanta. So she was from, Vishakhapatnam. She gave me some wonderful books, children's books to kind of start with. So I have resources. So she gave me this book called as, Be Who You Are, which is a comic book. And then there was this, Ammu's Kavadi, which is also a storybook about, children. So these books were kind of given to me, and I think, my resource is starting. Like once I put that into implementation, I would understand, okay, how exactly that goes. So it's a village which kind of raises a child, and I think I, as a person, though I don't know a direct person who has been a trans and then raising a child in their own setup. I'm learning it from people who are already raising child in unconventional way. There are a lot of single mothers who are kind of raising children. There are a lot of bi people, who are raising children. There are a lot of trans women. Like I can see Gauri Sawant on the other side, who's not a biological parent, but still she raised a child. And there are a lot of other
What do you
people in
here,
those
like,
examples.
what do you feel that when coming from a queer community, trans community, what are the challenges, extra challenges that they have to, face while raising a child compared to cisgender people?
So I think, I have to constantly keep my gender to be subverted. Like, I have very much fear about the same. I still remember before this entire conversation of even child, even the conceiving was started, I and Raji had this conversation for late night, telling that, see, I'm somebody who's very visibly trans in one of the spectrum. Like when I'm doing drag, people see me in that way. They're seeing me in the full garb of it. I'm very public about the same. And when I'm doing it, what if a child sees me in some content? Like even today I had to kind of hide my information, some of the videos or something, from some relatives who will kind of come ahead and ask some stupid questions. So those are some of the things which I don't want to kind of have a regular conversation. So till when can we kind of censor it, or till when can we kind of hide it, was one of the biggest fear. And what if somebody figures it out? If, for example, I'm a drag artist and somebody sees me, some child's parent sees me, and then they show it to the child. What if this child goes ahead and teases my boy just because I am drag artist? So I think these are the things which are very kind of, I would say, scary in one or the other way, because I don't want, I have had the first-hand experience of the trauma, and I don't want that to kind of reflect to my child as well.
Yeah.
So I'm in this kind of a constant fear. And when I was saying that, this is how it would be, and I know that it will take, a lot of time for us to change the society in that as well. But she said, like, if that is a situation right now, you have schools or colleges where you are going and having a conversation with, they are open, they're trying to hear you. That was not your case when you were in 21 years of age, at your age. So it's definitely on us to kind of educate the schools or colleges. Right now you have a responsibility, you also have another responsibility to fasten it up, or do more such kind of work which will kind of educate people within those spaces as well. So rather than fearing of what will happen, it's good for you to kind of do the effort and think, or kind of be agile about how exactly we would be
It
kind
will
of going
pan
it
out.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
do you
after
think
that, I felt very much relieved about this thought process, and I just left it. I don't overthink about that anymore. I just left it to see how the time would
go
kind
with
of
the
go ahead.
flow
It's very
also?
uncertain.
Yeah. So let us talk a little bit about your childhood.
Mhm.
You took up dance, and later on, you also merged Bharatanatyam, which is said to be the most classical Indian dance form, and always in the scrutiny of cultural purists who do not want to blend it with other art forms. But you did blend
Mhm.
it with a Japanese art form, which is so different in style. Like Bharatanatyam is very codified. The Japanese style
Mhm.
of dance form that you took was very contemporary. So did you
Mhm.
ever faced a backlash from cultural purists or of any kind?
Yeah, I often get. So this is something which was very I think is like, Bharatanatyam had, though the dance form is very kind of rich, technical, right now it's an montage of things, having said that, Bharatanatyam is a dance form which everybody knows. It's not that, it's not like you don't have to invest 25 years of age 25 years of your particular life to kind of dedicate it to art, an art. Human is first, and then the art kind of comes in, and it's the human who runs an art form. So when this entire entourage, when this being very commercialized within its own setup, when it's very kind of gatekept by a lot of people, especially for the marginalized community. I'm not only talking about LGBT, but there are people from the other caste, class subsections as well. So even today, if there would be no person who can afford Bharatanatyam because of the number of, I would say, for doing an Arangetram, you have to around put 6 to 7 lakhs. So that is how the idea of commerciality is. And when I was kind of going ahead and trying to learn, or trying to kind of go through this entire process, at one point, and I felt very vindicated. I said, like, why am I kind of learning it? Because there was one reason that one of my Bharatanatyam teacher tried to molest me. So that was one of the strike off point for me to kind of look into. And it was very kind of queer phobic. Like, we want to do queer related erotica on stage, but then there is a duality of people when you say they are queer. Either they are being kind of ostracized from the entire culture, or they are being given a certain kind of a tagline. So I think when I started exploring or kind of putting the vocabulary into the queer narratives, I was already being kind of left over by my the inside dance community. I was often being seen as the outsider always. So now what exactly happened was, like, I didn't want to be called as Bharatanatyam dancer. I felt like that was restricting my thought process in one or the other way. And when I was kind of thinking this entire confusion of how can I break the mold, I learned other classical art forms, and everything looks the same. Like, everything had the same kind of a problematic stance. Though there is a difference between communities, we still call people as male dancers, female dancers, and there is no existence of trans or non-binary dancers. Even if they are trans dancers, they are put on a pedestal. So we don't want the dance form to be accessible for everybody. If we see some minorities who are achieving something which is impossible, we put them in a pedestal, and then we kind of do the regular thing. So this is something which is very frustrating for me when I was trying to learn. So that's the time I started looking out for the other forms of art which was there. And Bhutto, there's this person called as Adam Kwan. He came to Hyderabad for an exchange program, and I saw him, and I was like, can I learn from you? So that's how I started learning Bhutto. He did a workshop over here. I had some offline sessions with him about how to kind of demystify the entire idea. So Bhutto is very opposite of Bharatanatyam. So there is no structure. It's very internalized art form. It's like movement therapy. And then they talk about diseases, death, queerness, nudity, all that things which are very, like taboo and anti-art in its own way. So I found a very good balance in using the vocabulary from this space, because why should I not use it? Because I have been learning it. I have putting investment and money for learning this for 3 to 5 years. And I would use this and try to put it into something which I feel safe, or I feel, being
More
given
inclusive.
voices to. Yeah. So I started doing that. I started, calling my dance as expressionism, because if I still call Bharatanatyam, there were people who were kind of coming, oh, your posters are not good, your legs are not good, you're doing some kind of a fusion dance, it's called as confusion, and all that kind of things. So this was there. And the worst part was I still being labeled as a kind of a queer person or queer dancer. So that is one category which has been there. And still, there are a lot of times where I want to try to break the spaces of, okay, let me bring 6 to 7 transistors who want to learn Bharatanatyam. Will you be able to teach? And that doesn't happen. So there's very, very kind of a space which I was in. I was like,
which is very exclusive, which is very tight and exclusive, you would say.
Yeah. And it's also very defined. So that's another problem. If it's defined, right? If you say that you have to have an Aramandi which is 6 feet from the ground, and if anybody is not even having that 1%, right, they are being called out. So I understand, dance has to be flexible. You can't keep everything such rigid and structured. And for me, it was very uncomfortable. It was kind of, kind of choking me out when I was doing it. And I said, like, okay, let me be a bad Bharatanatyam dancer. I don't want to be. I'll do something which I'm comfortable in. Hence, I kind of moved into, expressionism, and started, utilizing body. This gave me very vast canvas to work on. So right now, like with drag also kind of coming into picture, when I started doing drag as well, this canvas is still alive. So I can still explore in this. So that is, I think that kind of helped me in moving from one space to the other.
From where you realized that, from where did you got to know about drag dance exists?
Mhm. So
Like in
drag
which way?
again. So drag was again a part of Buto. Like, we don't call that quite often. So drag is more of a performance and that of performing arts. Like dance is a performing art, and drag is a performance art. And Buto had a similar kind of an element. So when I was, I started doing Buto. My parents were kind of trying to agree with the terms because they have seen a classical dancer evolve and then all of a sudden, become, a person who's in
Contemporary.
some kind of a trip, some kind of a trip, and they were not understanding what exactly is happening because the performances were so kind of grotesque in its own way, if I could say, like going into a public and putting paint on your body and all that kind of things. So my mom and dad were not kind of tuning into it. But having said that, I was already doing, I was trying to do gender performances as a part of Buto. And while I was doing it, I felt a little bit comfort in myself or in my posture of my body. I've been to Bangalore in 2018, and that's the time I saw a person perform drag. Drag as in a man dressing up as a woman, exaggerated idea of a woman and performing. And I know that okay, this is very common. Kuchipudi does that. Like I have done when I was 12 years of age when I learned Kuchipudi for a while. So that was a very kind of a common concept. And I was like, what is the big deal in it? It's just dressing up and then performing. But having said that, the space which they performed or the idea of drag which they performed was something which struck me, and I saw that it was very kind of evolving. It's very kind of even undefined than that of Buto. It's like even the boundaries were pushed to an extreme level, and that's the thing which I realized, okay, this is something which is really interesting. And queers were hooting, like, all the queer people in that particular room felt overjoyed at once. It was just like as if everybody got some kind of an oxygen once the drag queen entered the hall. And this experience was not something which Hyderabad had. Like there was no nightlife at that point in time, and there were no drag queens at all. So my major intent was to bring drag scene to Hyderabad. And how did I, what I thought is like it's a wise idea. Is like, see, I don't want to do drag because I'm invested in my dance. I will pull up somebody else. I will teach them, okay, how to do the makeup and everything. I can help them out, and they will be the drag queen, and I will be this dancer. So that was my idea, and I was trying to hunt people, friends and everybody, asking people, "Oh, do you want to perform drag, etc., etc." People were irritated because of my constant questioning. One person just turns out to me and says, like, if you can't do it yourself, you should not ask anybody else to do. I, I
But
think
why were
that's the
you
time.
not doing it yourself?
No, I thought it was very simple. Unless
Okay.
and until you go into the depths of it, you don't know what exactly. I thought it's very. There were two things. One was I thought it's very expensive because the dress, wigs, and everything, it will take a lot of money. And then it was very simple. And once you put that, there is nothing you need to do. Just like either you dance on a number or just lip sync, and then that's done. So that was my perspective at that point in time. So I said, like, and also I was a little bit feared about the entire aspect, like, okay, I'm an adult being a woman and, presenting it. So what exactly that perspective would be. And there is always a body consciousness which kinds of comes in. If I was a twink, if I was very lean, if I'm doing it, that's a different case. But if I'm a heavy body person, then kind of doing it, it was very kind of, I was very body conscious at that point in time. But I gave it like, 2019, 9th June. I think I'm almost completing 5 years now. so
It's
so
yesterday.
9th June 2019 was the time when we decided we'll do the drag show. It was like we decided on a Thursday and we wanted to do it on a Sunday. So it's just 3 days we had. And what we have done is like there was this I looked for some spaces over here, and nobody were, they thought it's very kind of a sexual art form and all. So I reached out to this cafe called as Nirvana Cafe, which was there. Now it's not there. So it was near the Peddama Tali temple. It's in between
Jubilee
Jubilee Hills.
Hills.
So yeah. So I asked them to kind of host. So the person was a friend of mine. So she said, yeah, yeah, yeah. She thought she didn't have an idea as to what exactly is going to happen. She's like, yeah, 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 you come, you use this place and all. And I counted people, how many people are coming. I was like, 21 people will come, and that's okay. But the small space, it's just half a room. People want to eat whatever it is. It is enough of space, is what we thought. And then while this was happening, there were always some campaigns. there were some straight people who thought that that was very something which would be having nudity and adult entertainment. They said, like, if anybody is attending this event, they'll have police, police will come, they will raid. There was that speculation as well, which was happening, which I
Okay.
got to know in midst of the event. So I thought, like, okay, because of this, the 10 people who are kind of coming, they would also stop.
Hmm.
I don't know, that worked out so well. We had around 500 people, and it was very closed space. It's like it just has glass walls, and then it's very closed space. People started sitting on the ground, and the entire place
Okay.
was filled with people. It was jam packed. The performance, there's no much of performance area, and everybody are cheering and hooting. So
Okay.
my mind kind of, nobody came. Like when I was doing Bharatanatyam and all, this audience was not there. They came all of a sudden, and that was very exciting for me. And I said, like, okay, this is something which I really wanted to kind of do. And we did a performance. I did a performance on Born This Way, and I had a couple of friends with me as well. Like, so once I stepped in, there were two more people who said, I want to do drag as well. So we all bought wigs. I kind of did their makeup and everything. So we all performed together at once. And that was the kind of journey. Since then, I never kind of stopped. The same crowd was maintained every time when I was performing. And that was something which I felt that, okay, the city has to give me something, and it just gave me. So this calling was
So
true.
you
Uh,
have, since then you have performed in Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore,
hmm,
even Mumbai. How are
yeah.
different cities having different perception of drag?
So I think Mumbai is very advanced, and their idea of drag is very kind of, I would say, uh, it's very cis passing. Like, you have to be exactly that beauty cut, a proper cut crease, liners and everything. If you are slim, and if you are kind of, looking sexy, and that is the perspective. It's very glamorous drag, which has been there, very kind of, I would say, pageant drag. That is the one of the word which we usually use, like, being in a pageant, or
RuPaul's
like very,
specimens.
fish drag kind of a stuff.
Mm.
That is the vibe of, Mumbai. And Bangalore is again a party city. So you would see more of the parties happening within Bangalore, like, more queer parties happening within Bangalore. But when it comes to Hyderabad, right, it's very kind of an opposite. We have hardly a couple of parties, but here it's very political in its own self. Like, I need to constantly kind of push that bucket of matching with the audience. And here as well, drag is not tagged as a queer art form. It's very open. Like, I have performed for both, people who are folk queer people as well as non-queer people. It was, after taking drag as well, I didn't see that my dancing, profile, which was there. Like, I was dancing in multiple spaces. It was not having any kind of a tagline. The same thing kind of followed for drag as well. I was able to kind of navigate through a lot of cis, dominant spaces. I used to barge in, not even navigate. I used to directly barge into queer spaces, cis head spaces, and I used to perform. And they like it, they enjoy it as well. So that is the scene of Hyderabad. Chennai, it's very political as well. But having said that, Chennai is very, I would say, raw. I know a couple of friends who started over there drag, and I am obsessed with both of them. It's very regional drag, and they bring this entire, I would say, Tamilian vibe into their. It's very, language specific drag which
Localized
is being there,
version of drag, we can
very
say.
localized. And I think I relate to it because, again, I'm from one of the part of South India, and somebody who's been seeing this localization. Like, even for me to do or relate to Hyderabad scene, I had to localize, things as well.
And how do you
So I think,
localize it?
so basically I started doing Telugu drag. I used to sing. I'm singing songs. So this is again, thanks goodness to Raji. She came to one of my event when after just after getting married, and I was doing some Hindi as well as English numbers, and she didn't understand anything. So she's like, okay, I don't want to come to your drag shows because I don't understand anything. You're doing something else. So for her to kind of chime in, I started going ahead and singing songs, Telugu songs, and I had very kind of a good, route in. Like, I had very interesting things about, old Telugu classics like, Surya Kantam, Chaya Devi. I'm obsessed with them. And then there's this entire 90s Telugu songs which are being there, the folk music, Telugu folk music. So these are the elements which started kind of imbibing. So if there's a popular folk music, a folk Telugu song, I used to rewrite it in queer language, or use, for a queer agenda. So I try to sing it to people, and then they would kind of chime in. So in this way, I was able to be related to people. I was able to relate to people. So there was one situation where, slowly or steadily post 2019, my drag has become more public as in it's not something which is confined between the walls. It's directly barging or busking into public spaces like metros, railway stations, malls, and something like Durgam Charu, cable bridge. So I usually go with this instrument. I sing Telugu songs. There are people who are watching me, Telugu people. They kind of come, they dance with me because they're all folk songs, and folk is something which would easy connect. You don't need a bigger setup. You just sing a song and people automatically connect. So I was able to kind of match that string.
Mhm.
And
So
after that,
any
I think,
special kind of feedback that you heard from people who are like watching drag in a public space in Hyderabad for the first time? So like, were they awestruck or were they a little bit feeling different seeing it?
no,
What
I
kind of
think
feedback you remember?
they just stop. So there are two categories. All of them are, there are men and then the rest of them. So the men always have this perspective. Okay, can I take their number or something like that? That is always this constant your tension, and I also take advantage of it. It's like, that is why I'm performing. If you are having some kind of an emotion, let me take the advantage of that as well. So and having said that, I see a lot of uh, uh, woman kind of feeling very all of a sudden energetic. I still remember I was doing this show in last year, the same time. I was doing a performance at metro station in Amirpet. So I was singing a song. There was a girl child just walked in, and I said, "Can you dance with me?" We started dancing. Once this happened, all the women kind of came together. They started dancing. So it was a very kind of organic energy which was being there. So this is one happy thing which happens, like Telugu songs, folk songs, you do it. Similarly, I think we were doing AIDS campaign for TSACs. And I still remember the TSACs people asked us to kind of go and distribute condoms to people so that they can sensitize people. It's a very local space, like a late night, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, a railway station, because those are some of the spots where usually sex work happen, and it's really important for us to kind of sensitize them. So I went there and I started performing, and people were kind of coming. There were a lot of workers kind of coming, and everybody is kind of seeing it. And at last, I would go ahead and distribute condoms to them. One person thought it's a chocolate. They started opening it and they were trying to eat, and then they thought it's a condom. They just left it. So these are some of the funniest moments which happens. But having said that, like, people didn't know drag queens can do this. And I think that culture shock was something which I was able to kind of experience myself.
So
I
in a
said,
way, we can say that in a way your art is very political, like it's steering change without actually being part in kind of a particular protest or march or something like that. Do you feel that's the case? Your dance is very political or your act is very political?
yeah, I think that actually helped the entire initial, initial thing. What can drag do? It's just a simple thing, dressing up and doing it, but it's not that. Making it political, standing it in that center. Drag gives an immense amount of power to attract people. Like, you become you are not a heroine, you're not Deepika Padukone. You don't need that. That the entourage of it. You just wear the dress, you're centered, everybody sees you. And I think that's the time when you make a political statement, or you ask for a help. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that helped me, that distraction, that attention which I would be able to cater, kind of helped me in pushing up a lot of things within my own self, or within for the society, especially for the queer community as well. There were times when even for protests, like it was there's something which I recently kind of learned. There are spaces where you actually need to do protest. You don't have to hold a placard and all. If you're going to a pub, people are paying and they're kind of coming ahead and trying to watch you. That is a space where you can do protest. You can tell people that this is what is happening. So as a time of, I still remember, I think it was like the trans bill which was on place in 2019. At that point in time, I was performing in Delhi, and Delhi already was a political space because there was a lot of protests which were happening at that point in time, CAA and RC. And I walked into the space, and they were all talking about protests. They were all kind of speaking about what exactly will happen, etc., etc. So I thought this is the right time for us, for me to kind of show up and say, this is what you should be doing. You should take an action, because you're paying money, you have money, you have it, you have the access to it. So I did a performance called as Red Light, which is basically about the entire trans. That was I thought of making that as a political statement, that place as a political statement. I did a red light. It was basically a sari which I would be wearing, and then I'd be kind of undraping it, like telling how a trans person would go through scrutiny in order to get a certificate. So that is something which I kind of performed as well. So I think my questions answered. of why is it very simple. I kind of got it immediately because once I started doing it, once I started realizing it, I am right now in a space like, okay, this is something which I don't want to leave for my entire life. So this is something which I want to continue. So
when you are performing, there are so many people who join.
There's a couple of instances which I say, and then it's a very class divide. So one of the instances, I was performing for the same PSAC's AIDS committee in one of the public gardens, which is filled with basically, that's one of the cruising spots for queer people, queer men. Again, not from the very very classy spaces. They are again rural men who are actually kind of going ahead, and that is a cruising space. It's been for ages now. That's a space which has been there since 1992. That's the time where all the queer men would kind of come ahead. They would interact with people. So that's the kind of a space which it was. And when I went ahead in this space, then this kind of a catalog of things in front of them, there were a lot of people who thought like I was a sex worker, and they usually kind of asked me number. There was one 80 years of old person kind of coming ahead and flirting with me. I and these are all the things which were there, and I was not alone. I was with a couple of trans people out there, so they were the ones who were safeguarding me. So their space or their gender identity was something which was more powerful than that of these men who were kind of coming in. And I think that is something which I learned from this space. Now on the other side, when I come back to like I was performing in one of the clubs, people tend that when a performer is performing, they feel it's their onus of kind of coming ahead and barging in and trying to like take the space whatever I'm kind of owning it. So this was something, it's a non-queer, it's a mixed crowd event which I was performing, and then there were two straight men who were trying to kind of come ahead and take my space, or basically kind of touching me, and they were kind of dancing, but they were not dancing, they were not letting me go this side or that side. So I have to actually bring that aggression or trans aggression which my trans sisters had, and try to kind of use it over here. Like I've just started pushing them once, and then I on the mic I just started roasting the other person, telling that okay, you should have balls to kind of come and touch me. So something like that, if you do, it's very kind of caricatured, but it's very artistry as well. So the person is right now very aware, very he's a center of attraction for everybody. So now they would know that if anything happens, this is the person whom to catch. Like we are actually calling out the predators right over there, so everybody safeguards themselves. So that is one way drag kind of empowers. So right now I started learning about how to use it in a way that I can protect myself and also people around in the room. So and people often feel very scared about drag queens, and I do understand why, because we carry this entire aggression, and we try to use it when it's best. Like
and you specifically are into this category of tranimal drag, which is more kind of terrorizing.
I ensure that I always bring this sassiness, and once you bring that sass out of it, right, people automatically get control. I have seen nobody can kind of stand extremely powerful woman, because the femininity of a person would kind of comes into such a level. There's nobody who try to cross the line. So I think that has helped me a lot, that aggression of carrying it, and it becomes artistry as well. So I can wear a wig, I can say something, but after the wig, it's not me, it's somebody else is what I will say. So I think that space, that hideout was something which empowers. So right now, there are still people,
despite of feeling this level of power, the moment you put on the costume and the wig and all, you still sometimes like refer to yourself as suffocated art specimen. What exactly does this mean? Because on one side we are seeing you in a very powerful avatar, but from the inside you're feeling something else. So
I use this basically this is my drag name. Drag name is I have two personas. One, Patruni Sastry, when I'm right out like this, and second was for the drag which I do, we usually have a drag name. Like every drag queen has a drag name. So initially I had a very kind of a funny name called as Mohini Devi. All of a sudden, and I didn't know that there is a Mohini Devi queen in Rajasthan, and whom I have to who kind of bumps in or sends me an email telling me that this is my name, why are you kind of sabotaging it, and etc. So I left that name, and people were also like, what is this Mohini Devi? It's very, kind of specific to a certain religion is what it's kind of looking at. So I had to ensure that it's very connected with people as well. So I thought, why can't I see something which is very, very a part of my name, And then which I could use it as a political statement itself. Like, my last name is Shastry, which is very casteist in its own nature. Like every Telugu person has a casteist name at the end. We can't help it. That is how we are being framed into. And so this label itself is a little bit problematic. I don't want to usually use this. So how can I reclaim this? How can I ensure that this name is part of me, but I'm feeling happy about it. I'm not feeling sad about it. So so I dissected it. I didn't want to use it as a caste label. So I said, like, I don't want to use the name like that. I will try to rethink about it. So Sass was something people usually used to call me Sass. Sass, Sass means the mother-in-law. Sass is an English word. And then Sass is also breathe. So I use that acronym SAS, like suffocated art specimen. So this is again like suffocated because I use that animal, thing. And, usually I cover my face. Or even if I'm not covering my face, I have 10 tons of wigs, which automatically, makes me suffocated with the dress and everything. So drag itself is a suffocating process. And then art, because I create art. So this I think like each drag avatar which I'm doing is an art in itself. It's a living art. And each art is a specimen. Like, if I'm doing something today, that's one specimen of art for you. Like, as you experiment with specimens. So hence it's suffocated art specimen. So if people are using that name, suffocated art specimen, that's well and good. Right now, I usually say it's a SAS. When they ask me what is it, then I kind of re-explain it. So it's very perspective. Like what I think is like the SAS itself is very perspective. Like people take it in their own way, their own definition. And I thought like that is how it will kind of make me more agile with drag. So hence I use SAS as my drag name.
So drag, what do you think is the perception of common folk about drag, and anything that you want to bust about drag dance, what people think it is and what it actually is?
So one thing is like drag is it doesn't have a definition. Like within the art as well. So I went into my craziness of drag is so much, if I could say, I went into creating a pie chart of where exactly it's been placed within the artistic structure. So we have expressionism, classicism, and surrealism, and then we have performance art of theater and dance, and drag is right in the center because it does every damn thing. So it's very, very personal art. Like you can't teach drag to people. It's very personal because it's something, you can't teach people to dress up. It's something which we always do. Everybody carries their own style. So drag is also the same thing. And it's very, interdisciplinary. Like I know drag artists, thank God to Rupal, because what she has actually done is she made drag a part of everything, like everything which is commercial. Like may that be, stand-up comedy, may that be music, may that be hosting, may that be just dressing up, walking in fashion shows, may that be singing, or may that be dance, theater. So drag is essentially a part of everything. So what I think is like we can't define drag. It's just you choose and pick up. So there are drag artists who sing songs which is like a movie songs, jazz, pop, and everything. I chose folk songs because that is something which I feel comfortable. There are people who choose dances. There are a lot of vogue, dance drag artists who do voguing. I choose something which I have been learning or nurturing. So you customize the art form. It's in your own way, and even try to kind of step into everything. So right now I'm a vessel carrying multiple experiences of learning, and I present it as per the audience who are kind of seeing it. So that is one thing. Like you can't figure out, you can't say one drag artist is very good, one drag artist is very bad. So I did see this criticism as well come up in my way because usually drag queens are very gorgeous, and I do this protest drag, which is basically kinds of turns off people. And so hence I need to kind of explain them this is tranimal, this is a form of drag, because I'm fed up with the idea of beauty. Like you can't serve the same food. There are a lot of people who take multiple, there's a culture, there's a subculture. So I think, when the culture is already there, you need to create a subculture so that anti-perspective is also being surviving.
So you're basically deconstructing the idea of like ideal beauty with tranimalistic drag.
Indeed, because I think I'm already beautiful. I don't have to become extra beauty with makeup and all. But what I create is I create an imaginary figure. So imaginary figure with my own ideology, my own, my own vision point. Like whenever I'm doing a, performances, when I'm creating a look as well, I look out for things which are accessible to me, like sarees. There are a lot of drag artists who wear sarees. Again, sari itself is a political stance because it creates an imagery of South Asian diaspora and the West, and sometimes sari is seen as something which is an easy available garment. So hence, it's very cheap in one or the other ways as well. You don't see multiple sari. You don't see drag queens wearing sari and performing it in a club.
Exactly.
Because for them it's very kind of offbeat or off the clubbish vibe. But still, we have seen Usha Utup and other people kind of doing that kind of gigs as well. So sari becomes a very easy access tool. Right now, I have a mother who's supporting me. I have a sister who's supporting me. I have a wife who's supporting me. All these saris I can use. So in one way, I am trying to be very economical about this sale. And I have two big suitcases of saris which my mom bought of all the colors. These are very old saris, dating from her marriage. So those are some things which are very special. I can garment it in a certain way. So it brings the idea of Indianness. And the wigs which I use is very colorful. I don't want to look like a proper woman. I don't want to look like the stance of I want to exaggerate so much that if I walk into the crowd, people will definitely have to see me. They can't turn off their eyes. So that is something. And then the beauty aspect as well. I basically overdraw myself. It's like if the eyebrows are here, it will go here. So this over dramatification of drag, exaggeration, and I think that something is also adds up to the the entire aspect of performance. So this is one aspect. Like every drag is different. Second is like the drag is not something which is from the West. It's not a Western import. Today, because of the Western politics of drag, where people say that it is very sexual, adultery, that was not there. That was not drag at all. I think drag was stolen from India, just like Kohinoor. The initial idea of drag or the concept of drag comes from, I don't want to quote this book, but yeah, I can't help. Natya Shastra, where there is this entire idea about, men dressing up as women. There's this entire chapter about how men will dress up, or men actors dress up, women actors dress up. It's not even exaggeration. Every state of India, like if you just go through the map of every state of India, it at least has one folk, classical, or theatre art form where men will dress up as women and perform. And we cannot say that, okay, this is not a part of the culture. And none of them are sexual. So even the canvas of sexuality is very different. Like you go to Bihar, there you will see drag, which is called as the Launda Nach, which is very sexual. It's performed only for men. Men dress up as men. It's very sexual. It's very, kind of, it is given for the male gaze. So that is how the Launda Nach is being performed. On the opposite side, we see like, in Kerala, there are forms like Tayyam, which is only godly. It's very kind of, very divine in its own nature. So the contrast of it is also something which is very different. I think if drag was there in India, and it is very well served in multiple quantities. You can be sexual at one time. You can be customized and make it family friendly. So it's very kind of
it's versatile basically, and versatile. Can be molded into different sentiments, suiting different individualities. So it was very open that way. But how often do you get chance to perform drag dance? Because you are also working at a firm in Hyderabad, which is, I think, your main job, right?
Yeah, I earn full time in my company, and I usually get time in the weekends, and that's where I usually do my events. Like all the weekends are something where I can kind of go perform and everything.
And people in your office are supportive of this?
Yeah, and they don't have a choice. So I think.
Have they ever attended your show?
Not yet. So the first day I went into the office, I don't know, like somebody said that this person has given a TED talk or something. I think I over-exaggerated in my resume. I didn't know that they will ask me to give a TED talk right over there when I joined. But so I was having this, online conversation because COVID was there at that point in time. And they wanted to see, okay, what is, kya top hai ye? So let's see what exactly this person does. So they went and Googled my name. And then I'm in full drag. Came right in front of them, and that was a conversation, which was very I would say, off the beat. Like I didn't have to explain anything. They found everything from the internet and they understood themselves, and they don't kind of come and question me back. So I think I'm in a very safe space. So they learned it themselves.
So your office is
So
pretty much inclusive, we can say.
Indeed. But there's a lot of work to be done as well. See, again, there are a lot of people who might not be out. So their journey is different. And like even corporates, like this is again a complaint which I'm doing it in Pride Month, can't help. But corporates do say a lot of things, but internally there are a lot of other things. Like they say that they're trans inclusive, but there's no gender neutral toilets in their offices. So these are some of the things which need to be worked on as well. Having said that, I was in a safe space because I don't have to explain. So if I had to come out to a person, right, that is a different case. But I'm unapologetically myself, being myself over there. And people themselves are figuring it out, and I don't give a damn about what they are trying to analyze about to me. So I was very happy, and by seeing my confidence, they all also started being very happy. So I was like, okay, this is a good thing. Like we don't need to explain a lot of the times. It just happens like that.
And I think probably this is the reason. I mean, you married so in an unexpected scenario. I mean, you never thought that you'll meet the love of your life and things will be that smooth. And it's probably dependent on how different scenarios treat you with different people, and how many of them are so accepting that it awe inspires you in life. So you have completed, I think, 3 years in marriage. So tell us some of the something that has hooked you both in your marriage, something that has glued you and Raji.
Those are sarees for sure.
Beyond
I think sarees the one thing which is basically, I think Raji kind of understands is like she knows she knows me. I don't have to, even when it was before the marriage itself. I tried to explain a lot. Like I was very kind of scared. So when we kind of initially met, we were just kind of casually talking, dating, and all that thing. It was more of a like conversations which we were kind of having. And when I saw that there's something which is building up between both of us, I didn't want to waste time in going ahead and telling her that I'm a bisexual person. And I did ask people, like I had a couple of straight friends and then queer friends. I said, like this is what I'm trying to do. We talk, right? We usually kind of ask suggestions for people and all. So I did, and a lot of the times they were like, "Oh, you don't have to tell. After the marriage, they will figure it out." I didn't want to build up a relationship on the invisibility of my queerness, because I know it's very suffocating if I'm putting my queerness into a closet and living a kind of a dual life. And that was the most scariest part which I could ever imagine as well. So and even my mom and dad, they gave me this upbringing that if you have anything in your mind and body, you have to say it out loud. You can't keep things for yourself. So my mom used to say when I was a child, if you're keeping things for yourself, your brain will burst. So hence I'm very kind of particular about the same. Like even if I'm committing a mistake, I go and tell it to people. And then do the after courses. So I wanted to say to Raji, and I sent her a text message that I'm pansexual late night at 2:00, and the next day she's like, okay. And then again I tried to reiterate. This went on for 2 to 3 weeks, and at last she was very frustrated. I was like, I know I'm educated. I've been kind of hearing your conversations and everything. I know what you're trying to say, but what I felt is like you are kind of invested in me, and I think we are having a good connect. If you think that is something which we can do, I don't have any kind of a problem. Having said that, if you are being forced to do something, like if you are forced to being married to me, that's the time when we need to kind of step out or something. That was what she said. What I realized is like nobody forced me to marry her. So that was something which was very, very strongly being said. And secondly, do I want to go into this relationship? Yes. So I had a confidence that I want to be that. So there was a want. And then I also had a confidence that okay, there was nothing which I'm doing wrong. I'm not putting anybody in a dim light. So I just said yes, and we got engaged in the next 1 week, and then the marriage was on the way. Like from the engagement till the marriage, it was around 1 month is when the entire conversation started. So I was like, okay, I'm confident, I'm very happy. Why can't I go and post pictures on Instagram? So I posted a couple of pictures, which kind of started this entire debate. Oh, you are gay. How can you kind of go and marry and crab a woman's life, etc., etc. So this was again a phase. So I was confident, and then they made me again anxious. So, but one thing was, I was constantly talking with Raji, and then at last we just got married. After marriage, the perspective changed. Once she started standing next to me and say that, okay, I know this person is pansexual. Okay, it's not a big deal. So that is when the entire, the society started looking to us for changing their perspective.
Because usually what it is believed is people from queer community will choose queer people only, otherwise they will face backlash. Because it is believed that cisgender people or heterosexual people are your enemies. If you're going and mingling with them or marrying them, then you are outcast from our own community. So
yeah, because you're looking straight. So that's what they say. You look like a straight person. So I think but still, I might look in a straight relationship. By the end of it, if I have to see something, or if my feelings are, if I'm seeing Hrithik Roshan, I'm feeling attracted. You can't come ahead and curtail it. I don't have to be infidel for kind of showing or proving my bisexuality. I can still be attracted to people, and attraction works in multiple ways, or sexuality or romanticism. So you can't invalidate all of these. So there might be one part, okay, we are understanding, but there are other things as well. You can't take my transness away from me, because I am also having gender dysphoria. I'm also feeling that I'm fluid. So these are all the things which people haven't considered. And once we started, having this conversation, I think it became a space for me to look out for more bisexual people, or more trans people on this kind of a relationship. So in one way, she helped me in going ahead and breaking that barrier of spaces, which I was kind of going through. And right now, it's
I think love does that. I don't know from where it gives you that power to do, but it does that.
Indeed, I think she's crazy as well. I should say that. Because I still remember my sister, my elder sister. I have an elder sibling, and she's very transphobic. Like, even when I was dancing, she never used to attend my events. She already had the perspective that, okay, I'm doing something which is which is girlish in its own nature. And I don't know, same parents but very different upbringing is what I understand. She's 5 years older to me, and she's very kind of orthodox, all that kind of things which have been there. So after marriage, I went for an interview, a Telugu interview, and there was a thumbnail which they put as like, after 21 years of age is when I realized my gender. So that was a thumbnail which was being put on the YouTube. My sister, she sees this and she's very frightened. She's like, oh, she's crying, making this entire melodrama, telling that, oh, you are married now and you're becoming transgender, what should I do, and all that kind of things. So and I was alone because Raji went for their parents. There was some function which was happening, and she was just coming back the next day. And I'm alone. She's making this entire drama. I called Raji, and Raji called my sister directly. She counseled. She's like, you think that you don't know anything? I know every damn thing. I was the one who gave him a sari. I was there in the part of the interview. So you don't have to worry. It's our personal matter. We'll sort it out.
Yeah.
You sort your own life. So she became that kind of an ally, and this is always she does. There is a space where she wants to kind of intervene. She would always be there and kind of switch buttons. And there's one more interesting fact which I have to tell, is because in Raji's family there are certain people, like there's this young kid who's just 14 to 15 years of age, kind of going ahead and studying engineering and all. And I had a something like this, a rainbow color flag, and there were 20 to 30 people who were there in the entire family. Everybody was sitting, and Raji's phone is also rainbow color. And the kid asked from the other side, "Oh, this means you are supporting LGBT community." From one space to the other, everybody's like, what is this LGBT community? So firstly, she said, yes, I do support. And second is like, you don't have Google, go and Google it. So that's how she's kind of responding back to people as well. So I like that power which she kind of brings into the table and kind of, bees with me. And it also, I think the best part is like we are having conversations. So the talking part is really important in the relationship, and I think that is something which is helping us out in a far more better way.
So love, maturity, communication, you have given us all the secrets. Okay. And this goes on for everyone, like whoever is
Yeah.
going to watch this interview in future. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining us.